Hi, I'm attorney Gregory Dell, joined by attorney Cesar Gavidia, and today we're going to talk about disability insurance denial reason number 4, which has to do with disability insurance companies misleading treating doctors. And a lot of people watching this are probably saying, like, what does that mean? How could the disability insurance company mislead my doctor? And Cesar, there's many scenarios that we were discussing before we did this video where we see attempts by the company to misrepresent the information that's coming from the doctor so that the claim is basically unsupported for the restrictions and limitations that are needed. Let's talk about what's the most common scenario where you see a disability company, in your opinion, attempts to mislead a doctor.
Well, the most common way is that the disability insurance company will ask their medical consultant, whether it's an in-house medical consultant or a third party, to contact your doctor, to have a conversation with them, and to discuss your level of basically physical functional ability. So they'll go through certain things, certain tasks like sitting, standing, walking. How long can you do these various things? And then what they do is, once your doctor's responded to, well, yeah, I don't think they have any restrictions sitting. I think that they could sit for, extended periods of time. There's no problem there. Well, as soon as they say something like that, or they're able to kind of work at like kind of a chest level, they could grasp and hold things just fine, and they could type. Well, as soon as they make these types of basically concessions, you're capable of doing a sedentary occupation or able to engage in some level of activity or job activity. And that's really how they mislead them. They don't ask or talk about specific tasks related to your own occupation. If you're in that own occupation stage of disability, that's critical. That's the whole standard of meeting disability, is whether you could perform the substantial material duties of your own occupation. And they're asking them about sitting, standing, reaching, walking. I mean, if that were the case, and if those were the only tasks or activities required to performing your job, then anybody could perform your occupation. Anybody could perform, this, highly demanding occupation, if that's the case. But what's critical is for your doctor to really understand, if that's where you are in that own occupation stage of disability, what really your occupation is, what it entails, what it requires. Oftentimes I have clients who provide their doctors with an explanation or a detailed summary of what their occupation was when they're addressing that question on their disability claim forms. Or if there's going to be a discussion with the insurance company doctor about that. Now, if they're not in the own occupation stage of disability, if now the question is about whether the person can perform any gainful occupation, well, there's usually a qualifier to that in the disability insurance contract. It's not just any occupation, okay? It's not just selecting any occupation out there. If there's an occupation out there, well, if you can do that, then you're not disabled any longer. Usually the standard's whether it's any occupation that you're qualified to perform based on your education, training, and experience. And the way the insurance company misleads the doctor is when their consultant or they, someone from the insurance company speaking to your doctor about that, they're not talking about your education, training, and experience. They're just going back to these kind of general, vague, ambiguous physical demand functions. And as long as they could get you doing some of those, they're going to say you could work.
So, Cesar, how do these phone calls that come from the disability insurance company to the doctor, do you find that they're scheduled calls? Is the claimant advised that the disability company is going to call the doctor, or what do you usually see as the pattern in terms
you get a mix. Sometimes, most oftentimes, the insurance company is going to just pick up the phone and try to reach out to the doctor and say, do they have a moment? Can we speak to them? We're from the insurance company for the patient. Now, the doctor may not know if that's a health insurance company covering some sort of, recent visit or procedure, or if that's their disability insurance company. And the doctor could pick up the phone, and then suddenly it's this medical consultant asking them a series of questions about whether they can return to work or whether they can perform at this physical demand level. And then sometimes it is scheduled because doctors are busy. And if the person that's scheduling that phone call for the doctor is kind of aware enough, then they'll schedule that call for some tentative date in the future, and hopefully they'll let the patient know that, hey, your disability insurance company is calling here asking a series of questions, or they want to set up a phone call for the doctor. What do you want us to do with this? That's not common that usually your doctor's office is that on top of things, but hopefully they would be. And one way to kind of ensure that is in these authorizations that are periodically sent to you, is perhaps limiting that authorization to the insurance company to just be able to reach out to your doctor without your authorization, without your consent, and speaking to your doctor directly about your claim or your condition. You want to be able to have that conversation first with your doctor. That's why it's imperative that when you do visit with them, when you do have your scheduled visits with them, you're discussing all these things so that they're aware when that insurance company calls, that doctor's prepared.
Right, and that is the key. And what I usually tell my clients is, tell your doctor that if the insurance company calls, to number one, tell them that could they please submit their questions in writing, so that there's always a log. Because at the end of the day, especially in these claims governed by ERISA, it's a he said, she said in the phone call. And if there's no notes as to what took place, there's nothing you can do about it later on, because there's no depositions, there's no courtroom testimony. So you're stuck at the mercy of the report that's ultimately written up by the in-house doctor. The other thing is that we always suggest that if they're not going to submit questions, or if your doctor did speak to the insurance company, that the insurance company sends over a written summary of what took place during the call, and that your doctor has the opportunity to comment, to verify, or disagree with what took place during that call. Unfortunately, Cesar, you see all the time where these calls take place. They're cold calls more often than not. They're not scheduled. The doctor then sends a summary of the call and says, please reply within 2 days, because these hired doctors try to bang out these reports as quick as possible because they want to submit their bills to get paid. The in-house doctor, the treating doctor, usually doesn't respond to the report that's sent by this other doctor. And often it says that if you don't respond, I'll assume you agree with everything that I've said. More often than not, there's something in that report that is not consistent with what that treating doctor said to the insurance company doctor. And there you have the basis for your denial, which happens all the time. And that's where the disability insurance company misleads the doctor. The other thing that happens almost all the time in these calls, or what I should say doesn't happen, is that number one, there's never a discussion about the definition of disability in the policy. And there's almost never, ever a discussion about what the occupational duties are, because of the fact that they haven't even discussed the definition of disability. And the reason it's not done is because the in-house doctor likely has no idea even what the definition of disability is. They often don't even know the occupation of the claimant. So they're just talking in these generalities with the treating doctor, and basically the treating doctor is like, yeah, the person can function in their normal life, nothing with regard to what their job is. And that's the biggest problem. That's the misleading that goes on, where the doctor, it basically is, the treating doctor is like, well, we didn't talk about your occupation. They didn't ask me if I thought that you could sit for 7-8 hours a day working at your desk, or traveling, or walking, or lifting, specific things related to your work. So it's a trap when these doctors call. They're not calling to really find out the truth about what's going on. They don't ask specific questions about the medical records. They just try to get the 1 or 2 points they want so that they could put something in their report to support denying the claim. Bottom line from this video, tell your doctors not to speak with them, deal with them in writing, and prep your doctor that if they do get this call as to what is going on with your disability policy. And always ask for the disability insurance company to send back a written summary. And if your doctor calls you and says, oh, the insurance company doctor, my doctor called me and said that the insurance company called, you should immediately call the disability company and ask them for a copy of any report that was generated if your doctor never got one. So at least the doctor can respond, or you can have an understanding of what's going on. So these are just a few of the situations, Cesar. I know we've talked about in other videos, and we're not going to get into it on this one, but there's also misleading that goes on in the attending physician statements, that are always requested from the doctors to fill out for the claimants, because those forms don't have enough information in there to specifically target what the person's occupation is, are specifically very generic. And I encourage people to check out our video that I believe you and I have done, Cesar, where we talk about the importance of filling out an attending physician statement appropriately in order to support the claim. So we encourage you to contact either Cesar or myself for a free consultation in which we'll discuss your claim. No matter what status you're at, whether you're considering applying, you're on claim, or you've been denied, we'll provide you with an initial free consultation. Our clients are located all over the country, so we're available to represent you no matter where you live. We encourage you to spend some time and search our website. We have lots of helpful videos like this one. And we also encourage you to look up by your disability insurance company, because we have specific cases that we've resolved, cases and lawsuits that have been filed around the country that we've summarized. And when you get all this information and you spend some time learning about how the disability insurance company thinks, you're going to put yourself in the best position possible to keep your benefits from being denied, and also getting yourself back on claim, because the more you can think like the company, the better position you're going to be in. So we look forward to the opportunity to speak with you in the future. Thank you.